Morning. You hear my voice? Okay. Okay. Then let's start. So we continue revising chapter 2, the second part of chapter 2. And we continue also speaking about scientific misconduct, which we have differentiated during the last class from scientific conduct. And we have mentioned that if scientific conduct exists, people, for some concrete reason, have invented the term scientific conduct, right? So this definition was invented in order to differentiate it from scientific misconduct. So we can make a suggestion that some types of scientific misconduct took place, and in order to differentiate it, people coined the term scientific conduct. So you already know that what is scientific misconduct generally, and we shall speak now about some concrete sorts of scientific misconduct. So first of all, just to find the opposition between these two definitions, scientific conduct is correct scientific behavior when we are following some rules of conducting research without violating rules of other people, and in the group of other people we can distinguish other researchers and our readers, and at the same time to keep the rights of animals in case of laboratory research and rights of humans which are involved in clinical trials. So when we continue keeping rules of all these groups, we say that our conduct may be characterized as scientific conduct. But what happens in the opposite situation when we have some violation of interests of rules, and what sort of violation could it be? We shall start about distinguishing violation of accepted norms of publication. Okay, as you can easily imagine, publication is the final part of research. So publication may also be called as report of our investigation. Publication may be also defined as sort of written scientific communication. So it's very important to publish the results of our research, because by publishing the research data, we are sharing our data with the rest of the society, both academic society and general members of society which are not academicians and which just need to use our results in their everyday life. As you remember, the main idea of science is to benefit the everyday life of each member of civic society. So let us say that one of the main instruments of sharing is scientific communication. We have already spoken about this, just to repeat it. And one of the ways of written scientific communication, because there may be also oral scientific communication, right? So oral scientific communication is participation in conferences, congresses, roundtables, some presentations, meetings. So written, one of the way of written scientific communication is publishing scientific articles in a highly specialized journals, right? Which possesses their focus audience of readers. So how can we fall here in scientific misconduct during publication? There are three main sorts of scientific misconduct in case of publications. First is the so-called salami publication. Another is the so-called Imalas publication and duplicate publications. So let's start from the very beginning. What is salami publication? So you know what is salami, right? It's sort of Italian sausage. Very tasty for people who love sausages. So this sausage salami is usually served in thin slices. So we are cutting them in our kitchen into thin slices. And imalas being salami spelled backwards. So the main reason when a researcher decides to prepare and later to publish salami and imalas publications is to maximize the number of papers published from a given work done by reducing each to the least publishable unit. What does it mean, least publishable unit? It means to make is the minimum to publish it. Okay? So salami publication means that we are preparing the thinnest possible slices that can be published. And to distinguish it from Imalas publication, which is the same, but there is a slight difference between them. Imalas publication means that we are publishing what was already published, but we are adding a very few new data on it. Okay, so this is the slight difference between salami publication and Imalas publication. So these are misconducts. And why they are misconducts? Because when we obtain results from our research, when we receive some research data, what are we doing with this research data? We are grouping them, sorting them, and analyzing them. So the main idea here is to analyze as much as possible, to analyze the whole data and to publish it without any destruction, without any cutting, in order to let the readers, both academic audience and general audience, to give them the full impression about the work done and about the data received. When I'm cutting, when I'm partly publishing results of my work, it means that readers lack the whole picture. They cannot reconstruct my research reality. And at the same time, my research design could not be repeatable, reproducible. If someone will decide to repeat my research in his or her laboratory conditions, it will not be possible because I'm only partly describing and partly reporting the data which I have received. And I'm doing this intentionally in order to multiplicate the number of articles in my curriculum. So why should I need this? If researchers' main motivation, main motto is to investigate the world which surrounds us, why should I intentionally reduce the data receipt? You know, research work is a luxury, and not all countries can finance it. Normally, real research, what we can call the research in biomedical sciences, which are evidence-based investigations, this research needs a lot of money, needs a lot of finances to be financed and to be conducted. And how this money, where this money are found? We can find them either when universities funding the project, or when state is funding, government is funding the project, or when some private donations are received to conduct the clinical trials. Some international organizations are providing grants and subsidies to finance the investigations. And who are people which are employed? They are researchers which are very experienced, which are very skilled, and which receive high salaries for their work. So people can live with this work, and people can keep their families. So this work needs a lot of dedication, a lot of understanding, sense of responsibility that the job they are doing is of crucial importance for people who are waiting for research results at clinical departments, at hospitals. So, which are the criteria based on which scientific centers invite researchers and sign contracts? One of the criteria is index of citation of researcher. What does it mean, the index of citation? It's the variable which shows how many times our articles are cited and what is the total sum of my citations. Okay, the higher my index of citation, the higher my income, my salary, because it demonstrates that I have great experience in conducting research. So one of the points when my candidature is considered for inviting at research center by employer, one of the points is number of publications. And here, via scientific misconduct, the number of publications may be increased artificially. If I will publish the results of a single given experiment partially, if I will divide the results, and from in place of one article, if I will publish 4, I will have more articles. And when they will see, when the committee which is going to contract me, when they will see that I have 54 articles and another person has 100 due to scientific misconduct, they will invite him because he has higher number of the articles published. Okay, this is not the only criteria, but is one of the main criteria, so the number of articles. Another criteria should be in which journals researcher is publishing his or her articles, because journals need to be peer-reviewed, journals need to be indexed in the scientific databases, and not in all databases, but in prestigious databases. And journals need to be not on the last positions in the list of the journals. It's preferable to publish journals in the top 10% or top 20% of journals listed in the journal list of Scopus or Thomson or another databases. So this may be one of the main reasons why researchers artificially are increasing the number of articles published. That's why we say that it's not scientifically correct, because it does not give full impression about the work done, about the research conducted. So it's misconduct. It undermines the misconduct, undermines the internal value system of science, because science is not a natural phenomenon. Science is invented by man. So it means that we are supporting our understanding of science by some values which we share. For example, for some researchers, it's very important to publish their articles in peer-reviewed journals. For another, maybe less important. Why should we prefer, for example, to publish our work in peer-review articles? Because in peer-review articles, our paper before publishing is reviewed by the experts of the field. Generally, the procedure is the following. When I'm sending my manuscript to journal editor or secretary is presenting my paper, my manuscript, not paper yet, my manuscript on the meeting of editorial board. They are estimating superficially without going into details, and if at the first sight it seems that this paper should be of interest for the journal, then they are sending my manuscript to, as usual, there are different possibilities, but mostly they are sending it to 2 experts of the field, and they have some time, for example, from 3 till 6 months, and then experts are estimating, reviewing my manuscript, and they write their decision, their written decisions, that either this article may be published without changes, or this article may be published with minor or major changes, or it's unacceptable for publication and we have to dismiss it or to reject it. But if peer-reviewed journal accepts my work, my manuscript, and later journal publishes it, it means that some sort of expertise is already done and readers can trust to this paper. That's why most of researchers, they prefer to publish their work in peer-reviewed journals. When a researcher may decide that he or she can allow himself or herself to publish in non-peer review edition, there may be different variants why not in peer review. For example, if I am coordinating a volume on the concrete topic and I am inviting some very famous professionals of the field, which are at the same time experts in the field, It's logical that their text does not need very rigorous peer review, very detailed peer review. Or if I am very skilled researcher and I want to stimulate some new journal which is only founded, some new journal. For example, my PhD students or my postdoctoral fellows are founding a journal which will be very good experience of scientific work for them because they are future researchers. In future, they will form part of different editorials of journals, of editorial boards, or advisory boards, or they will be reviewers in future. And the faculty journal, which they are founding at the faculty, may play a crucial role for their professional development as of future editors, future reviewers, and at the same time may help them elaborate some skills necessary for these purposes. In this case, I may let myself, because I have a lot of peer-reviewed articles, and I can send one or two or several articles to the journal in order to collaborate with young investigators to teach them not only theoretically by delivering lectures, but practically when we are founding faculty journals. That's why in the West or in the European states, in Canada, in New Zealand, in Australia, in Switzerland, in all countries of the developed world, at all faculties, they have faculty journals, scientific magazines, journals of different levels of faculties. There are undergraduate journals. This system, for example, is very well developed in the United States. They have undergraduate journals, they have PhD students' journals, they have journals founded by postdoctoral fellows. So the main reason of this is to attract more students for scientific work, is to help them elaborate some scientific skills, some research skills, because one thing is when I'm delivering classes in research methodology. Another thing is when we are putting this in practice and when we are trying to use our theoretical background to receive some practical product. And this product may be a single paper published, or a volume coordinated, or journal founded, some scientific journal. And one very interesting step is, I would say, second step or the next step when you already have certain experience in research. One very interesting form of scientific collaboration, of scientific work, is scientific collaboration. Scientific collaboration on the national and international level. And here the question of misconduct is very important and very crucial, because if we will fall in misconduct, nobody will work with us, not inside the country and also outside of country. You know, scientific society is not a very big society, so people know each other, and personal relations and communications decide a lot of things and condition a lot of aspects of career development. So what does it mean, collaboration between scientists or groups of scientists? Collaboration means that for my research work to be more productive, I need participation of other people, of my colleagues, from either they may be from my own university, from another faculty. For example, I'm studying autistic spectrum of disorders, and I'm studying the behavioral part, and my colleague from the Department of Psychology is studying the psychological part. This is one possible way of scientific collaboration, when people are collaborating inside the institution. Another sort of scientific collaboration may be when people inside the country are collaborating which are affiliated to different universities. For example, NVU is another university, or researcher from my faculty to the researcher of another university's faculty. And the highest level is international collaboration. International collaboration means that researchers from our country, for example, from Georgia, they are collaborating with researchers from foreign countries. For example, we are coordinating volume and we are inviting authors from different countries to enrich our volume thematically, because different people, they may work on the same topic but from different points of investigation, from different points of view. So different research focus is enriching the productivity. Our final product, our publication, is more complex, is more diverse, is more detailed. It is analyzed from different points of views. That's why international collaboration is the best what have invented human mind in order to reconstruct the world which surrounds us. So that's why people decide to find new contacts. Researchers are in the permanent process of seeking for new contacts. For example, I can have 5 colleagues in different countries, and I may think that why do I need to build new communication network, because I already have some people, one in Germany, one in Spain, one in Italy, and a couple of them in the United States, and it's enough. But it cannot be enough, because the real life teaches us that new ideas always come after each new research. More diverse group of researchers means more new ideas. So people are imagining, they are working with their fantasy, and they are imagining new ideas, new approaches, new discoveries, new improvements for scientific development of civic society, how to live better, and how to use all opportunities, all possibilities which we possess in order to learn more from the world which surrounds us. So that's why international collaboration should aim the inclusion and the participation of newer and newer investigators from all over the world. And you know, when you are realizing one project, and once you have finished it and published the results, new ideas come into your head. But if you do nothing, there is no fundament for new ideas. They cannot be born from the air, from the sunlight. You need to do something in order to develop new ideas. So we start with individual work at our laboratory. Then we start with collaboration inside the university. Then we are collaborating with other colleagues. And the highest step should be collaboration of international orientation. International collaboration, which will end in the publication of new data, which by its nature could be diverse, innovative, and a source for future research. What is most important, that each research should be source of new research, source of new ideas for new research. So if in this case we shall let ourselves fall into scientific misconduct, there are special committees which are estimating if our behavior may be regarded as scientific conduct or not. In different countries, we have different experience of estimating misconduct. Denmark is one of the countries which more works on the topic. Nordic countries also play a crucial role in the development of the criteria to detect different sorts of scientific misconduct. So one of the ways of working for elimination of scientific misconduct, for prevention of scientific misconduct, one of the ways may be creation of special committees. In some countries, there may be ethics committees. You know what are ethics committees, right? We have spoken about this previously. Ethics committees are a group of professionals which are estimating the research from the point of view of ethical background. In case of scientific misconduct, the same ethics committee may participate, or new committees may be created to evaluate if the concrete case is the form of scientific misconduct or not, and what could be the results. For example, the rejection of article when editorial board decides that we cannot publish this article because reviewers indicate that the article with the same data was already published some couple of years ago. You know, the professional ambience is not very huge because the science is very divided into different branches. Okay, we don't have medicine, we don't have biology, we have different branches of medicine and biology, and people, they are few which work in different directions, and they all know which articles are published during last years, and of course they are experts of the field, and they easily can remember when they receive emails publication with a little bit added new data. They say that the research design is the same, the formation of groups is the same, the data published is the same, with one exception. So probably this may be the sort of emails publication. So let's remember, right? Emails is the same as salami, but when we are adding some new data to the already published data. For example, you have published an articles in which you detect results, describe results from 3 experimental groups, and in the new version of the article, which is emails article, you are adding the 4th group. So everything is the same: research design, methodology, composition of groups of animals, experimental animals, for example, and just you have some additional 4th group for this concrete paper. Okay, or you are including some additionally 40 patients in concrete clinical trial. It already published with 100 patients, and you are adding some 40 patients. So there is, for example, in Denmark, we have committees on scientific dishonesty. They are called DCSD. So they have their own web page. You can check it in the Google, and they are investigating the cases, the similar cases. They are publishing their reports in order to prevent the future publication of salami publications or duplicate or multiple publications. So you understand what does it mean, right? Duplicate or multiple publications. It means that I have published the article in one journal, in the same, and publishing in another. Okay. So now we have in our era of technical development, we have a lot of possibilities to check if the article was previously published in the same form or not. For example, a lot of journals, they provide open access for researchers, for institutions, for universities, for research centers. You can, if you will hesitate in concrete case, you can check using the title, using the keywords, using the abstract, and you can reveal and detect that this concrete publication was already published. And this data is the multiplication and is the repetition of the previously published research data. So it means that somehow the author should be punished, but there are no formal punishments. For example, you cannot arrest the authors. You can just disseminate the information that from this concrete author the article was received, which was already published, and just keep it in mind. Other journals or our society or our academia members. So this is the main approach how to prevent the scientific misconduct. You have very good recommendations here. Two sources. One is book by Locks, Wells, and Farsing about misconduct in medical research, and another is book of Macrina, Scientific Integrity. Why this book is recommended? Because this book is published on case studies, concrete case studies of scientific misconduct. So, what I want to summarize it. What I wanted to say based on the revision of chapter 2, because we have finished chapter 2 with these forms of scientific misconduct. So if I go back to the context just to revise the chapter 2, I will see that the chapter is titled Ethics in Scientific Misconduct. So the main idea here is that this chapter is divided into two parts, but why it is composed with these two main groups of ideas? Because ethics is very related to misconduct, and misconduct is very related to ethics. We have passed during our previous lecture different sort of ethical norms, internal norms, external norms, linkage norms. When you are violating them, you fall into scientific misconduct. So you see, there is a bidirectional relation between ethics and misconduct and ethics. So when we were speaking about authorship issues, we said that there may be some gift authorship. You remember it, right? So gift authorship is when you name someone, when you put someone's name in the list of authors in a way that this concrete author has done nothing for the research or for the paper. You know, most of contemporary journals, biomedical journals, they, at the end of the article, they provide the special place where authors are indicating the role of each author in the preparation of the article. For example, someone revised manuscript. Another author has done some work of technician. Another two authors are PhD students who participated in library research. So what does it mean? That it should be ethically approved? Why do we have 6 authors? Or why do we have 5 authors? Or why do we have 2 authors? And also the places of people. Who is the first author? Mostly, first author is the person who did most work to publish this article. And the last author is either whose participation is less or who is only the manager or who only somehow directed the work of other authors. For example, I'm head of department. I am directing the work of 4 different teams in my department, or I'm head of laboratory and I'm directing 4 different directions at my laboratory. So I'm consulting them, I'm participating in analysis of data, I'm revising the manuscript. But compared to other people's work, this is somehow minor job. So I'm the last author. But I should be author, not because I'm head of department or head of laboratory, but because I have participated. But my contribution was not crucial, was not very important. That's why I'm the last author. And the first author is whose participation was decisive for conducting this research, for analyzing. These are people, first 2 or first 3 authors, these are people who generated the ideas for this research, etc., etc. So that's why authorship issues are very important and very closely related with scientific conduct. So you can't put or remove the person from the author list. Okay? There should be some logical backgrounds why you are doing this, to be ethically approved, to be logically determined. So fabrication of data is very important sort of misconduct when I am fabricating the data, when I am intentionally excluding some data from analysis in order to formulate very nice and logical explanation. Okay? Or when I'm just inventing the data. I'm looking at the ceiling and I'm finding some data there. Yeah? So fabrication, just like of duplication, when I'm, or multiple publication, when I'm publishing the same data several times, and I'm putting bullets in my curriculum, in my CV, when I mention that I have 25 articles on this topic, and it may seem that I have only 10 or 15, and the rest are the multiple publications, are the Salome publications or Emalis publications. So you say you should be fair, you should be logical in expressing your ideas, and you should not artificially add or remove some data which was received or which was not received, but you are imagining, okay, with your sense of imagination. So people possess different sense of imagination. So some data may be imagined easily, dreamed, and some data may be invented. So that's why in this chapter, which is very important chapter for future researchers, and I have participated in numerous trainings in different universities in the world when they explain why it's very important to link, to relate the ethical issues with scientific conduct and misconduct. Because broadly speaking, these are topics of the single chapter as they are presented in this book. That's why we faculty have decided to select this book for you, because first of all it's short, it's not overloaded with cases, with additional materials, with a lot of examples, because this is not the only subject which you are studying at the same time. And besides, most of you will be practical doctors and not researchers. But at the same time, this book is very useful because it's more or less exhaustive, it's more or less detailed. And the chapter 2 may be a very good explanation why we have selected this book, because in chapter 2 we have very detailed description of ethics and scientific conduct. So I hope this chapter will be useful, not only for to pass this subject, but just to understand the role of research, its benefits, how can it benefit the members of our civic society. And please start reading chapter 3. We shall continue speaking, we shall speak shortly during our next class before we start chapter 4. Before we start chapter 4, in these 3 chapters, first, second, and third, they are included in your first midterm. Okay? So please read them carefully because they are very important chapters. Very important. With chapter 4, we start preparing for our second midterm. And just to announce it here, I want to say that chapter 4 is dedicated to research methodology, to strategies, to planning and analysis. Okay. That's all for today. So if we have any questions concerning the content of chapter 2 or any technical issues, I'm here to answer. Any questions? You can turn on your microphone and ask me, or you can write in the chat. I will read it. Okay. We got email for lecture at 11. At 11, I have research 2. So if you are in research 2 group, please join at 11. If you are in research 1, your lecture was at 9. Okay. Any other questions? You can. Final syllabus will comprise one to no. Final syllabus will comprise chapters 1-11, but this is for research 1 and research 2, the very final syllabus. But for research 1, the syllabus is chapters 1 and 6 including, from 1 till 6 included. Okay, for research 1. For research 2 is 7-11. Okay? Any other questions? Please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate and ask me. If you will have any paragraph which is difficult for you to understand, just highlight it and ask me during the next Saturday, okay? Final for research 1 is just chapter 6. You are right. final for research 1 is just chapter 6. Yes. It's methods in molecular biology. Yes. Because as you already know, we do not repeat the material for final, which was already passed during midterms, okay? Because then why do we need midterms? Okay. So any other questions? Please feel free to ask me. No questions. Okay. If we don't have any questions, thank you for joining us. This lecture midterm 1 is yes. Yes, Tarek, you are ready. You are right. Yes. Yeah. It seems great to me too. That's why I have tried. You know, my intention is not to have a lot of students which fail. My intention is to demonstrate you that research is really interesting. Really interesting. It's a very nice thing which can make our life happier. So that's why I don't want to overload you, okay, with material. Just I want you to enjoy when you are reading something new, and I think that research methodology is one of the very nice spots inside of medical curriculum, which is more interesting than compared to the basic subjects of medicine, which we have to study, but still. So that's why I do not introduce. But if you will find out that you have some how to say some chapters which are more interesting for you, and these chapters are very briefly discussed in our textbook, you just send me email and I will provide you with additional material which will be only for individual use. It will not be included in the finals or in midterms. You are interested in something, you just send me email and I will send you papers, articles, some electronic books. I have a lot of stuff on this topic, okay? So just ask and you will receive it. Thank you for participation and for joining us, and hope to see you next Saturday. Good luck. Bye.